New cards, new environments, new characters, new mechanics. Here's everything you need to know about upcoming Slay the Spire 2. Starting from the essentials, Slay the Spire 2 will be expanding on the formula we already know and love from Slay the Spire 1. So moving up from one room to another, fighting enemies, engaging with various encounters to make yourself and your deck stronger in order to defeat the last boss. Now the studio behind the game is once again launching in the early access on the March 5th, 2026, so they will be adding new content to the game as time moves on. But the devs said that on the launch of the early access there already should be more content than in the first game, and that obviously means new cards, new enemies, new relics, new potions. Now here's first neat little addition that I really like. While planning your journey, you'll be able to make your own drawings on the map. I think that's a really immersive way to help you stay on track. And it may even help you express yourself, I mean if you can actually draw, not like me. Relics and potions are obviously making a comeback. They are obviously adding some new ones. And the ones we already know are getting some changes. The biggest change that you probably already noticed is to the sprites of the potions. They are now designed in a way that will reflect their effect, which I feel should help so much with the visual clarity. So for example, here you can see the heart of iron that actually was in the first game. That is now indicating in a much clearer way that it's a defensive potion. We also got to see a ship in a bottle that is supposed to help you get to safety. It's not specified how. Foul potion, which I have no idea what will it do. You can let me know what do you think. Now moving on to the stuff that's actually new. The developers announced they're gonna be expanding on the lore with a new mechanic called the timeline. Now they didn't specify how will it work, if it will be as simple as opening a notebook with a bunch of information or something more complicated. All we know for sure is that we are getting more information about the world, and that's a W in my book. The next sick addition I wanna talk about are the ancients. And to better explain those, I'm gonna start from one ancient we already know from the first game, and that is Meow. The good news is she is staying for the second game. She is gonna greet you at the start of every run with a random blessing. But at the start of Act 2 and onward, you're gonna meet new ancients. There's gonna be more than just one tied to each act, and you're never gonna know which one you're gonna get. Obviously, each one is gonna have their own unique pool of blessings, and the one we've got to see so far is a witch called Teskatara. So let's take a look at her more interesting blessings, replacing the Act 2 map with a single special path. Now I wonder what will be so special about this. Probably something that will be compensating for the fact that it's just a single path forward and it's ride or die. The second blessing being a bunch of relics but for a limited amount of fights. And the third one is gonna enchant all your strikes. Now you may ask yourself, what the hell does enchantment do? Well, I'm glad you asked. As you probably already guessed, enchantments are a special way to upgrade your cards. The one revealed is corrupted, which gonna make your card deal 50% more damage, but make you lose 3 HP each time you use a corrupted card. So a very powerful effect. Now coming back to the Teskatara's one, it was specified that it's gonna decrease the cost of your strikes, but make them impossible to remove from your deck. So it seems like enchantments are coming with a downside, but if you're gonna be able to work around it, you're gonna end up with a pretty powerful stuff. It was teased that some enchantments are more minor and some are more game defining in some rare events, but I don't know if meeting this Eldritch horror kind of guy is one of the rare events or not. I guess we'll have to find out. Now a pretty major change that is called alternate act. Once stepping into the new act, you're gonna enter one of two available environments. You're gonna have to unlock the second option first, but once you do it, it will add a lot of variety into your game. And an example we got for this mechanic is for Act 1. Option A is a lush territory called the Overgrowth with lots of greenery, plants and animals. And the option B is called the Underdogs, where you're gonna encounter lots of sea life. Now we are not going to see Act 2B and Act 3B on the launch on the early access, but they are gonna come later down the road. Now obviously each environment will have its own set of enemies, bosses and events, which will double the amount of content in the game. Speaking of events, as you can see, they got a whole visual update and it looks amazing. They are now taking the whole screen and have little neat animation. Now I personally would love to see a short animation playing based on which option you've chosen, but I guess that might be a little bit too much to ask for. The devs said that they are trying to avoid giving you the option to just pass and do nothing on the event. And also at the events we got to see the first instance of placeholder art and it's just adorable. In case you didn't know, we also got the placeholder art in the early access of the first game. They were pretty iconic, obviously got updated into more fitting version during the full launch. And I have to say I am so glad they are sticking to this option and not putting some AI slop into the game. Now moving on to a new very exciting mechanic quests. Now we actually got a very little information about those. Basically everything we got to see is this card, which seems that goes into your deck, kind of breaking your hand if you draw it. And that gift that show us a quest reward, which seems to be a little pet that's gonna help you in the fight. Big fan of that. I already know that I will have to, similar in TFT, hatch the egg every time I get the option, but we don't know yet how will we obtain the quests. Now let me present you my game theory. This little fella seems to have a big resemblance to the big enemy we saw from earlier. So I would say you either got the egg in the form of a drop from the enemy elite bird, which would mean that you first are killing his mother and then raising his as one of your own, which is kinda messed up. Or maybe you can find the egg somewhere else, and then when you face the big bird, you can give him back their child, which is gonna skip the combat and maybe give you some special rewards. Now that's probably enormous amount of copium, so maybe let's just go to the next part. Now I wanna talk some more about the enemies in Slay the Spire 2. They shown us quite a lot of them, and I don't think there's a point in theory crafting what every single one of them is gonna do. It will be better to just find out for yourself. But it was announced they are gonna have more ways to mess with your cards. For example, this dear fella will make you lose your energy while playing some of your cards, and that edgelord is gonna bound your cards, and you're gonna be able to play only one of the bound cards per turn. So it's nice to see the game is going to challenge us in a variety of ways, so we don't just autopilot from the moment we got the good deck. And now for what I think is the most interesting part, the characters. First of all, there are gonna be two returning characters from Slay the Spire 1, and that is the Ironclad and the Silent. They are obviously gonna receive some changes. Some cards will be removed from their pool, some added, and some changed. For example, the Blade Dance for the Silent. It got Exhaust added to it, which I think is a fair nerf. The Silent is also getting a new keyword, Sly, which will play a card for free if you discard it. Obviously, in the first game you also had some cards that you wanted to discard, but it resulted in an issue that if you throw only them, then your hand is bricked and you cannot do anything. So I think Sly is a great way to help this card archetype. Now we don't know much about the Ironclad, I'm sorry, but for the new characters, the Necrobinder is fittingly using Necromancy to summon her trusty minion Osti to help her in the combat. And to do that, she got her keyword Summon. Now when you summon, if Osti is not in combat, he is while being summoned, and if he already is in the combat, he's gonna get HP equal to the summon amount. By the way, the more HP Osti has, the bigger he grows, so you can make a giant one, and he's gonna use his HP to defend you from enemy attacks. He will also be able to attack himself, and he's a separate entity, meaning that if you got some debuffs, he will be free of them. The next mechanic in Necrobinder's kit is called Doom. You can apply Doom to your enemies in a similar way as poison, and when a creature's Doom meets or exceeds its current HP, it will be taken to their grave at the end of their turn, meaning that they still got one more action to do before dying. There's also a card that's gonna apply Doom to yourself, which is interesting. The Necrobinder will also be able to take power from souls and add helpful effects to her own card. She is said to be one of the most complicated characters, but I'm not sure if that statement holds true in comparison to the next one, the Regent. And let me take a moment to just appreciate his design, because wow, the way he just nonchalantly sits on his throne and doing as much as pointing finger or raising his hand while playing cards, using his cute little minions to do the work while they are shivering holding his throne. I mean, man. And all that with that unique alien look and starry powers. Absolute cinema. Speaking of stars, they are a unique resource in addition to energy that Regent uses to play his cards. So I guess the challenge here will be to make a deck that balances between the usage of your stars and generating them. But you will keep your stars between your turns, and some cards will be benefiting from the amount of stars you have. So there is probably gonna be a build around that. Another important thing about the Regent's kit will be transforming his cards. Now I'm not really sure if the transformations will be for the duration of combat only or permanent. I guess we'll have to find out. But if that's the way of getting more adorable minions, I'm gonna keep doing that. The next keyword unique to Regent's cards is Forge. Now the first time you forge each combat, the Sovereign Blade will be added to your hand, and it will be represented by this beautiful animation of orbiting sword. And each next forge will increase the damage that the blade does. So that seems like a good option to land some nice heavy hits. And for the last information about the Regent, we were told that he has some synergies with colorless cards. The Sovereign Blade is colorless itself, so the power power of creation will be important. And that's where the video was originally supposed to end, but the Mega Crit hit us with another trailer video with another 2 major updates. So closing on the characters topic, the Defect is making a comeback. Long awaited fan favorite, we don't know much more except the fact that he's been on his bulking phase. And the ginormous news, the Slay the Spire 2 is getting a multiplayer mode. It seems that we will be just facing the monsters together side by side and then splitting the loot and gearing up together afterwards. The interface shown us that we will see how much energy and cards in hand our bodies have. So I assume all the players are taking their actions at the same time and then it's enemy's turn and so on. It was specified that we will get some multiplayer specific cards, so probably something like a heal or a team-wide buff. I do wonder if the monsters will just attack everybody in the party every single time or if they will have a wider range of attacks. But all we know for sure for now that we'll be able to play with up to 4 players at the same time, which just means more ways to have fun. Fun with your friends is always amazing, so just a massive W. And that's it for today. Subscribe to stay tuned.